ورتل القرآن ترتيلا. Assalam-u-Alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to this lesson of Qur'an Tajweed course ورتل القرآن ترتيلا. In today's lesson, we will learn the last rule of noon sakina. As you know, friends, there are 4 rules pertaining to noon sakina and tanween. And those 4 rules are idhar, idgham, iqlab, and ikhfa. Out of these 4 rules, we have already discussed the first 3, that is idhar, idgham, and iqlab, in detail in the last few lessons. Now we are just left with the 4th and the last rule of noon sakina and tanween, that is ikhfa, which we will discuss today in this lesson. But before starting the lesson, let me tell you that these 4 rules of noon sakin, the rules of gunna, and even the rules of meme are very vital in beautifying your recitation. And if you don't know these rules, you may, in some cases, recite the Holy Qur'an correctly if you follow other rules of Tajweed. But you won't be able to recite it beautifully without knowing these rules of noon and meme. So, if you haven't watched any or even some lessons out of these previous lessons where we have discussed these rules of gunna and noon sakin, then do watch them by clicking on this I button above. You can find the entire playlist of videos with these rules here. Alright, let's start the lesson. So the 4th rule of noon sakin and tanween is al-ikhfa. This word ikhfa literally means hiding or concealment. Like the names of other 3 rules, this word ikhfa is also a masdar, or an infinitive, or a noun form from the verb أخفى يخفي, which means to hide or conceal. Its applied definition in the context of Tajweed is النطق بالحرف المخفي بصفة بين الإظهار والإدغام عار عن التشديد مع بقاء الغنة في الحرف الأول. It is pronouncing a hidden letter characterized somewhere between an idhar and idgham, stripped of any shadda, with a gunna remaining on the first letter. له 15 حرفا. It has 15 letters. We will see in a while which are those 15 letters, but let me first show you how this ikhfa or concealment of noon sakina happens with just 1 or 2 examples. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الإنسان لفي خسر. Ayat number 2 of Surah Al-Asr. سيصلى نارا ذات لهب. Ayat number 3 of Surah Al-Masad. Look at the first example here. إن الإنسان لفي خسر. The first noon here has a tashdid, and we have already learned that when it is a tashdid on a noon or a meme, we should do a gunnah akmal of that meme or noon. Meaning, we have to do the most complete gunnah, like inna, touching the makhraj of noon. I mean, touching the tooth ridge with the blade of your tongue, and also letting the air escape through your nose for the count of 1 alif, like inna. Okay? The next word here is al-insan. Here we do ikhfa of this noon sakina. This noon sakina is followed by the letter sin. You see it? So we shall conceal this noon in our nose and read it with an ikhfa, like insana, insana. Okay? The second example, sayasla naran dhata lahab. You know, this tanween on ra has a noon sakina hidden in it, right? But we won't read it like a normal noon sakin. We will do ikhfa of this noon sakin. That means we will hide it in our nose, like naran dhata lahab, naran dhata lahab. Okay? So that was just to give you an idea of how this concealment or ikhfa of noon sakin sounds like. Now, when does this ikhfa of noon sakina happen? We saw earlier that it has 15 letters, right? How many letters are there in the Arabic alphabet? 29, right? Just leave out the letter alif because it is not counted as a consonant sound. So we are left with 28 letters. Out of these 28 letters, we do idhar of noon sakina if it is followed by these 6 throat letters. Okay? Hamza, ha, ain, ha, ghain and kha. Now we are left with 22 letters. Out of these 22 letters, we do idgham of noon sakina or tanween if it is followed by these 6 yarmaloon letters, ya, ra, mim, lam, waw and noon. Now we have 16 letters, and out of these 16 letters, we do iqlab of noon sakina or tanween if it is followed by the letter ba, right? Now we are just left with these 15 letters. And these are the 15 letters of ikhfa. Ta, tha, jim, dal, dal, za, sin, shin, sod, dod, ta, va, fa, qaf and kaf. If any of these letters follows a noon sakina or tanween, we have to do ikhfa of that noon, whether this noon is hidden in a tanween or an open noon, and whether the noon sakina and one of these letters of ikhfa are in a single word or in 2 separate words. That means we have to hide this noon inside our nose if any of these 15 letters follows a noon sakina or tanween. And it is called ikhfa haqiqi when we hide this noon sakina before these letters. Ikhfa haqiqi. Okay? Now the question is, how to articulate this noon of ikhfa? Do we have to touch the makhraj of noon or not? Do we have to elevate our tongue or lower it? Or how long do we have to stop the voice in our nose in ikhfa? So let's delve into such details. We need to remember a few points while doing ikhfa of noon sakina or tanween. The first point is, when we articulate this hidden noon or noon of ikhfa before any of these 15 letters, we have to produce a complete nasalization or gunnah kamila from the nasal cavity, like anta or minka. Okay? The second point is, we have to keep our tongue away from the makhraj of noon while doing ikhfa of noon sakina. That means we should not touch the tooth ridge with our tongue. We should keep our tongue away and should not touch any part of the front of our mouth, like ma dhalladhi, ma dhalladhi. Okay? The third point is, the mouth prepares for the articulation point of the next letter after the hidden noon. The sound of the hidden noon and tanween will be read according to the letter following it. That means if the letter following the noon or tanween is a heavy letter or a thick letter like swad, dod, ta, wa or qaf, then this hidden noon will also be thick or heavy. These letters are articulated with a raised or elevated root of the tongue. So, when our mouth prepares to read these letters after a noon of ikhfa, that noon also becomes thick because of this raising of our tongue. Like alimun qadirun mudharina. Okay? While if this noon or tanween is followed by a light letter, then this noon will also be light, like وَإِن تُصِبْهُمْ فَاكِهَةٌ كَثِيرَةٌ. Remember, all the ikhfa letters except the 5 letters that we saw earlier are light letters. That means all the other letters are articulated with a lowered tongue. So this noon before them will also be articulated with a lowered tongue. Okay? The fourth point to remember is the vowel before a hidden noon or noon of ikhfa should be read with full one vowel count. Just one vowel count. And we should never try to stretch or elongate this vowel before the noon of ikhfa, like antum, minkum, kuntum. See, in the first case, a fatha precedes the noon of ikhfa. In the second case, a kasrah comes before the noon of ikhfa. And in the third case, a dhammah comes before this noon of ikhfa. And if we elongate this fatha, kasrah or dhammah, it will sound like an alif, ya or a waw respectively, like antum or minkum or kuntum. So we have to keep this fatha, kasrah or dhammah short before the noon of ikhfa, like man tagha min sharri ma khalaq, and not min sharri ma khalaq, or rijalun sadaqu and not rijalun sadaqu. I hope that makes sense to you. Now let's read some more examples of ikhfa from Nurani Qaida, lesson number 10. Listen to me and repeat after me.
أنت منذر كراما كاتبين كنت ترابا يتيما فآوى من دخله أنثى من شيء نارا ذات فلن تجد يوم ينفخ من طغى عن ضيف من ثقلت أنزلنا ينظرون.
So that was ikhfa of noon sakin and tanween. And with that we have completed all the 4 rules pertaining to noon sakinah and tanween. Let me remind you to like and share this video as much as possible for the love of Qur'an. Because your one click may help someone find this video who might be desperately looking for an authentic source to learn the recitation of the Holy Quran. And it also will be a sadaqah jariyah for you, insha'Allah. So see you in the next lesson with one more wonderful rule of Tajweed, insha'Allah. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.